Okay, so good morning, you absolute beauties that I am with today. I'm really excited today because I'm surrounded by flipping amazingness. So today we've got Susanna, we've got Kate, we've got Anna, we've got Marcus, and we've got Benjamin. And today we are going to be talking, we'll introduce ourselves as we go along about what, everything that we do or whatever. But today we're going to be talking about trust issues. Firstly, I hope everyone's doing okay in these times and creating the world that they wish to be in, and through the power of words and through visualization and just creating positive vibes, because we have that and we all have that. So what I would like to talk about is with trust. We have a way of through learned behaviour or just not living in the present, we have a way of maybe not trusting in relationships, whether that's business or personal relationships, and that can turn into a self-sabotage. And when you don't trust, you don't connect with others, and this is a real issue for a lot of people at this time. Do we trust the government? Do we trust the people around us? Do we trust the business that we're going to that we're in to carry on? Do we trust who we are as a person to make the right decisions? There's so many areas of trust that are fundamentally based on how we are, who we are, what we believe in. And overcoming the trust issues means seeing things a little bit differently, which is where NLP comes in so beautifully. So I'd like to just throw this out there, and who wants to start?
Dead silence there.
That was, wasn't it? Should we just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo? I'm going to start. Let's go, Kate, because you're the brightest on my screen at the moment. So
okay, yeah. I mean, the first thing that comes up for me when I think about trust is trusting yourself to be able to cope with anything that happens, and when you're grounded in a sense of self and understand your values and what you're capable of, and a present within yourself in any moment, then, and what's true in that moment. So it's about truth for me too. It's like, what is true now? Like we've got all this stuff going on, we're listening to the news, hearing all these horror stories and everything else, but what's right, what's true for me right now in this moment? Am I okay? Am I surviving? Have I got enough food to get me through the day? Have I got all I need right now? And have I got, am I coping now? And if the answer is yes, then in the next moment, the same question arises. Am I coping now? And the thing is, if we trust ourselves, then whatever comes in the future, if you trust yourself to be able to cope with anything that happens, then you won't have the anxiety, you won't have the stress about the future, because you will just know, I trust myself, I'm grounded in myself, I know I've coped before in so many terrible situations. When I think about some of the days that I've had, at the end of the day, I think, if I'd thought about all these things that I had to do in the morning, if I'd known all these things were coming, I would have been anxious as anything in the morning, thinking about all this stuff I've got to do, all these unknown things that get thrown at us all the time. No matter how good your plan is, it all goes out the window, doesn't it, after the first step? And so for us, I think when you can just trust and know that you will cope and build whatever strength you need in that, so that getting that foundation, knowing your values, knowing your beliefs, and working on any beliefs that, as we know how to work with limiting beliefs and change any of those that aren't serving you well, and building that trust within yourself, then that just gives you the energy to cope with anything, and the knowledge that you will project that forward. And we know about envisioning techniques and envisioning yourself in the future, and that's one thing that I do at the beginning of the day, is think, well, what have I got to do today? Who do I need to be today to create whatever I need to create in the world today? And then envision myself at the end of the day having achieved all of that.
Yeah.
And then step into that person, step into me, thinking, thank God, what a great, wonderful day that was. I've achieved everything I need to do, just feeling fulfilled. And I step into that, and then from that, I start my day from the position of, I've already achieved everything, I've coped with everything, no matter what life throws at me, I've done it. And that sets me up for the day. And no matter what life throws at me, then I trust myself to get through it. And it's building that trust, that solid foundation, something to really stand on and sort of grow roots into the earth and think, yeah, I'm solid, I'm strong, I'm powerful no matter what comes, and taking that energy from wherever it comes. And building that energy by the environments that I live in. What are these things? What's taking away my energy every day? And how do I make my environment more fulfilling and nurturing for me and my relationships? You know, who are the people that build me up? Who are the people that drain my energy? Working with all of that and being more mindful every day of how that's being affected to keep me strong. And then I know I'll cope with anything.
Absolutely.
That's my initial thoughts, guys.
I love that. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And that's what, because Linda isn't with us today, but maybe a bit later we could maybe talk about what she was talking about the other day with like the grid. Maybe we can visualize that. And also what she said the other day as well. Is it okay? Is it all right to be okay with everything right now? And I think that really comes into trusting as well, because if you ask that, yes, is it okay to be all right with everything right now? And just that brings you right into the present, present.
I agree, Kate. Actually, I think that this current climate, everything that's happening in the world right now is actually, I said this the other day when I was talking to Danielle, I think it's forcing us to be in the moment. So I think for those of us that have obviously studied NLP, or we've studied mindfulness, or you know, being on a more positive vibe in life, we're going to obviously find it easier to cope in these times. And that's why we need to share this knowledge to people, because by being forced to be in the moment makes you take advantage of that moment rather than fearing the moment. And that's something I've been saying to my family every single day, is like, don't have fear, just take advantage of where we are right now. Because for us personally, many times we've said, like, you know, we want to go traveling and just take a few months off, and we travel all the time with work, but we're in and out. I mean, went to Copenhagen 5 times last year, never seen Copenhagen. So, you know, there's these mad things that end up going on in your life. You get too busy for everything. And I think by being forced to be in the moment right now, it's made me rethink things like, you know, when we get back out traveling again, we've been forced to take this time off right now. But realistically, we could have taken this time off, if you know what I mean, ourselves. And that therefore puts us into the moment to make you realize that. And what we've done in this whole time so far is redo the garden, taking a bit of time, redecorate the house, do all those little jobs that have been done. Again, things that we wouldn't have necessarily done unless we was in this situation. So I guess it all comes back to that kind of like reframing everything, looking at like you pointed out there, is like, you know, being grateful for the things that you've got. I also personally start my day every day with some form of morning ritual, and a big part of that will be gratitude, no matter what our situation is. So, you know, I think you touched, Kate, then on what can happen. You look at the things that you've gone through in the past, and you look at all the, as a matter of fact, this is probably one of the most scary things that has happened in our history, that's for certain. But I will say this, at this current time, there's been things in our life, and I said this to my wife the other day, that have been 10 times worse than what's happening right now in that moment. So because we have learned to cope better and we're in a better position now. So what is happening right now on a global scale is crazy, but for us personally, we're coping better than we would have done many years ago, in a lot less of a scenario, if that makes sense. So
see, and it's also trusting that we will get through this, and it's trusting that the sun's coming up every day, it's trusting that the grass is growing, it's trusting in who we are, it's trusting in that we have every single tool that we need and every resource that we need to get through everything that is being given to us.
100%.
And it's all perspective. Can I just go to Anna, can I hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, let's go to Anna quickly. Let's have a little listen what Anna says.
I suppose what initially came to my mind was when you hear you sometimes people say things like, oh, I don't trust anyone. And when I hear people say that, I think, as we all know as NLP practitioners, language is so powerful because the words that you say then become your reality. So by saying I don't trust anyone, you're not then really allowing the opportunity for other people to show you that they can be trusted.
Absolutely.
And I think, you know, that, so it's to enable trust to happen, you have to allow yourself to be somewhat vulnerable. And I think that's what takes a lot of strength and courage. But ultimately, the reward from that is going to be much greater than having a life without trust. And I suppose that made me sort of link in really quickly with what Kate said, that sort of sparked straight away. If you trust yourself, you know, perhaps if you're saying I don't trust anyone, the question might be is, do you actually trust yourself? Because once then you trust yourself, you can begin to trust other people. So we know that by saying, you know, so you trust yourself, so you are trustworthy, therefore people can be. So I guess it's that question of, it's as much about you as it is anybody else, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally right. So, Benjamin, would you like to come in? Suzanne, I'm going to leave afterwards if that's okay. Unless you want to. No, Benjamin.
Well, I don't mind. We invited Benjamin, so Benjamin, up to you.
Okay, here we go then. Yeah, I'm loving it with especially what Kate, Marcus and Anna have said. Especially Kate's intentions and intending her intentions of the day before they happen, or of an evening, making those intentions of how she wants it to pan out, if you like. And Marcus making reference to the asking that's currently going on out there. So what I mean by that is that we've all been through things on our journey, and many of the clients we'll deal with are certainly going through stuff, if you like. And probably bigger stuff. Yes, this is scary in the way it's the way it's formed, but a lot of us have been through some really, really deep stuff. And if you had to put them in comparison, I've got a luxury of time with my family. I've got a studio here, all is well. To the energy that's out there at the moment, the asking, the focusing that's going on, from global focusing this. So globally, you've got everybody tapping into this energy, and the energy is either going upstream or downstream. We spoke about that before. And that's something I think you can feel. You can feel it when you speak to your family, your friends, you're on a video call, you're on a house party, whatever it is you're doing. You can feel that. Could be angst, anxiety. You can just feel that atmosphere, that energetic field. And it's about, I think for me personally, being kind to yourself, that when you notice that, to then step off the subjects, to then be kind to yourself, and, you know, hold your thoughts in a more satisfying place. Anna's hit the nail on the head with the trust issue, because, you know, the body of work I teach, if you're one person, and I used to be like this, and my dad was like it, just as it happens, he didn't trust a lot of people. That come from my dad was pretty all right financially and stuff, and he used to get a lot of hangers-oners and people who were always around him just for what they could get, really. And he didn't trust a lot of people, and guess what? He found more people not to trust, because by his attention to it, law of attraction brings you more of it.
Yeah.
And that we see in every minute of every day if we pay attention to it. The fastest way for me, the fastest way to get to a new and improved situation, even if it's trust, is to make peace with where you are now. Just make peace with where you are now. Become someone who trusts, and when you do that, then you allow things to happen. Then you become in this allowing, receptive mode, and you can feel the difference when you experience it. You know, somebody said last time we were on, and I can't remember who it was. And I've thought about this statement the whole week, and it was about tips and hints and processes that we can help others with, and we've all got them, and we've all got our unique way of doing what we do, which is wonderful, by the way. And it might have been Kate, actually. I've just had some intuition that it might have been Kate. What works for you or what works for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for somebody else, which is probably why it stuck with me all week. So if it was you, Kate, brilliant, I love it. But it's really stuck with me all week, and it's even emphasised the fact that in what I do, obviously, we want to interact with people who are attracting that information, because some people, they're not ready for that. They're not ready to hear, go and meditate. If they've never meditated, how is that going to sit? You know, go and read. If they're no good at reading, they prefer audiobooks. How is that going to sit with them? You know, go and exercise, go and do this. So it's about being mindful, if you like, especially people in our position who are looked upon as an authority on some subjects that can deliver transformational change. It's about, especially now, being more confident in ourselves and more confident in when we can say these things and when we have to step back. The trust thing's a huge thing at the moment. Just quickly, I had a phone call at 10:30 we've got another business, a recruitment company, and one of the drivers, who's normally what they call tramping, he goes out on a Monday, comes back on a Friday. He's now living at home with his wife. The tramping contract he was working on is being affected, and he's got a gambling addiction. He's got this going on. He's got that going on. She's in a really bad place. And I said to her, obviously we can pick up a conversation after this. I'm neutral on this, but I think for now, the trust is huge because people are experiencing things now that they've never experienced individually and collectively as a family and as a husband and wife relationship, if you like. They're finding things out for themselves now. And some of those things they're going to approve of, and some of them won't approve of. And if I can just gently say what I said to her, if you can just focus on the things you do approve of in the relationship to start with. I'm not going to tell you to go and do 100, tech tools, techniques and processes to bring you out of it. I'm just going to ask you kindly just to focus on what does work in the relationship and trust the process, which leads us nicely into what you guys are talking about today. I said to her today, it's our promise to you, you don't have to work hard at anything. And sometimes this is relevant because of what I was just saying. If I'm saying to someone, you really don't have to work hard for anything, take the path of least resistance. If they can't see it, they've never been on it, it's totally alien to them to think, why is everything always working out for him? Her words was, why does it always work out for you then, but from what we see? And I said, because I've got an unwavering faith. I've got complete trust that everything that I want is already done. All I have to do is become a vibrational match to it, then I see it. But for some people, they're not ready for that communication. So now more than ever, I've noticed combining different tools, techniques and modalities, it's about just gently feeling our way through it, gently going with the feeling of, shall I join this call? Or shall I do this? I'm letting my feelings guide me at the moment. And that's just me personally, by the way. But
that's perfect.
It's a trying time for a lot of people. And you know me, I don't give any energy to conversations or certain words. But, having come off the phone call and then jumping straight on with you guys, it seems relevant to speak about that. Yeah. There is going to be people out there who aren't trusting themselves, which is what Anna was on about, that they're not trusting their partner. And those are the people, I suppose, who are really going to be affected mostly out of the situation we're currently in. Like Marcus was saying, some people who are on their journey a bit further down the road in personal development or modalities, then they will they'll be able to better present themselves to the day, to the situations that occur. For me, it's a really, really important thing what you're doing, and I congratulate you all because I think momentum's building what you've done here, and we'll come to Susanna now, but I think what you're doing is really important, and who knows who's watching. I had a call from Goa yesterday, a friend of mine in Goa who's sold so many books and done. Shall we do an interview? And I was thinking, I haven't really done anything. I'm not really that good on social. I just post random stuff. I just do my thing. And then there's people contacting me and I'm thinking, and my wife's going, this is ridiculous. You're more busy now in all of the businesses than you've ever been. And you're not doing anything. And I went, this is what we're talking about. When you step off the pushing against something, need more clients, need to sort this issue out, got to get over this. Oh, this COVID. Oh, this 5G, there's a war against everything. The only war that there is the war against yourself, and that's the only war. Well-being, I say it all the time. has and always will prevail. And it's how we as teachers, because we're all teachers to the core of our being, can help people without pushing them away. Yeah. I said it the other day, you know, there's things that I look at and I think, oh, this will so much help them people or that person or that loved one. But they're not ready for it. You know, you lovingly leave them where they are, because you're going to get balled up in all their vibration, which is another conversation altogether. So
which we go to.
I can talk forever, so I'll be quiet.
Oh, Benjamin, see, that's the thing. The energy, your energy is magical, and everybody on this screen, Susanna, your magic energy is coming right now, and I can't wait. But the thing that I love the most about what we're doing is the fact that there's a pure energy that everyone is creating together, and there is a sense of trust, and I'm trusting in the process. I'm trusting in how I feel and what I need to do, in what way I'm going, and trusting that the people that are right for everything will be here at the right time. And that to me is absolutely everything, because that's wonderful. Susanna, magic Susanna.
Thank you, darling.
Oh.
Well, I want to add to what Benjamin was saying about some people not being ready, and I totally agree with that. However, people that are searching for answers, and people that are watching this recording, probably they're looking, and unconsciously they want to find out. So we should feel free to share tools and tricks and how we are coping with it and what we can do. And I also liked what Anna said about that's the advantage of being the last. About the language that we're using, because let's ask ourselves, what does it mean, trust? We're using this word so much, but what does it mean? What do we mean when we use this word? What is trust actually? Let's say you're discussing with your client in a conversation, and they say, I cannot trust my mom, I cannot trust the government. What do you ask next? What do you mean by trust, isn't it? Yeah. So how do we trust? Trust is actually the belief, right? It's a belief that something is true, that something is reliable. So for everybody here, trust will be different. I trust probably in God. I trust in myself. I trust in the energy that I feel. I trust in my abilities. And everyone here will trust different things. And everybody here listening will have a certain degree of trust in something or in someone. For instance, I don't go much for trusting myself as for trusting something greater. Like being, you know, in the Vedic science and being a yogi, I try to diminish my ego as much as I can and to surrender to a greater force. But that's not for everybody. But everybody here listening now must have a certain degree of trust in someone and in something. And that's what I would encourage people to do. Make a list. What do you trust in? I trust in the love for my kid. I trust in the love for my parents. I trust in God, if that's the case. I trust in the energy. I trust the universe. I trust life. So we cannot give recipe like, okay, now everybody should trust the government. Everybody should trust. I don't trust the government, by the way. But don't tell that to anybody. I cannot have the same level of trust in a sense that as I have, for instance, in a superior force of love and energy, right? It's not the same thing. So that's the first thing I would suggest that when it comes to trust, like what do you trust the most? Because we know trust is a belief. And if it's a core belief, and if it's something that is related to something that is truly valuable to you, it will work for you. So work with what you trust. You don't have to trust everybody. You don't have to trust the government. You don't have, like Benjamin said, to go ahead and be that compassionate heart and be full of joy when all this happens around you. Probably you can't. But there is an area that you can trust. And this is the moment to discover. And when you talk about trusting yourself, I think for me, it's trusting knowing yourself. You have to know a little bit about how your body works, about how your mind works. And this is, trust comes with knowledge. Trust comes with intuition. But not everybody is tuning the intuition as well neither. So that's what I wanted to say. And also I want to, you know, I like Zen stories, right? So
please do.
I have a Zen story for you. There's 3 students that are going to a monastery. They need to reach there and they have a long trip. And during the trip, they're being robbed of all their possessions. And so they have to continue the trip like that. They reach the gate of the monastery and they're asked the question by the monastery, the chief monk. So what have you learned from this experience? And the first one says, I learned not to trust anybody. The second one says, I learned that I should have an open heart and trust life no matter what happens. And the third one, and both of them are not accepted in the monastery, by the way. And the third one says, I learned that I have to trust my intuition and my awareness, that I should be aware at all times. So trusting blindly, to me, as a Vedic practitioner as well, is not necessarily the answer. You know, my debate, it's always on the truth and on the clarity. Do I have the clarity? Should I trust blindly whatever it's being told? Or should I have that level of discernment, of clarity, and trust that which I can trust 100%? So if I am to ask you, Daniel, what is your area of trust where you trust 100%? Give me an example. And I would like you all to say something so people have examples. What do you trust 100% now, Daniel, without doubt?
I trust 100% in love.
In love, perfect.
Yeah, and I trust 100% in my gut feeling.
Wonderful. Kate, what do you trust 100%? What's your area of trust, for instance?
I think my number one, because it's my number one value, is truth.
Truth. Wonderful. Yeah. See? So you trust in truth. That's fantastic. Just focusing on that should help you overcome the fears, anxiety, and get over this period in a better way. Anna, what do you trust?
Sorry, Kate. So was that Kate?
It's okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I was talking at the same time.
Anna.
Oh, sorry. I trust in the love of my little cat, Hendrix. He's the love of my life, and that's what I trust in.
Oh, lucky cat. Marcus.
For me, I just trust in my family. Family's everything to me.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. And Benjamin?
Yeah, I think you probably know the tone of my answer. I have complete trust and freedom in the universe and its ability to yield to us whatever we want, whenever we want it. And an answer to a question that normally comes from that, whether I've got a workshop or whatever, is how do you know? And the answer is very simple, because I've been there many times before. It's a source energy. We try and refrain from using, I'm a believer, but we try and refrain from using the word God and things like that, because it means so much to so many people, so many different things. But the energy field is real. We know that. Law of attraction abounds. And the universal energy that you can tap into is beyond verbal description. I never went to school, so I struggle with grammar and pronunciation of things, but it's beyond description. You know, I don't have that in my vocabulary to deliver, but one thing I do know is that it's real. And as soon as you get into it, it's just like being in a stream and going downstream, or being a skier, like I said the other day, and just letting it go down the hill. It'll surprise and delight you. And that's what I'm involved in now heavily, because I live it. It's not a, you know, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with somebody not long ago, and he said, you're doing the right thing, you teach what you know. We always struggle, and you know, you don't need to be scripts and slides and all this. If you can just, like you guys know, now state, if you like, and get into that place where it will just come to and through you. Everything you need to speak to anybody at any one time. You don't even need any more manuals. You don't need any more scripts. You don't need any more pens. You just let it come to and through you. And that's probably the most important thing that I've ever learned, is that when I turn that trust over to a complete and wavering faith and complete trust that everything's going to work out, and that's really, really powerful beyond, like I say, verbal description. So that's
Thank you.
That's
just
really
one thing before I finish my my little speech, because that was a question to all of you. What is important to also understand? How do we know we trust? You see, that's a very important question.
Yeah, that's a very.
I know I trust, but how do I know I trust? Because some people might trust certain things. They made their list, but you know, how do I recognize that? And that always comes to, like what Kate says always, it comes down to what you feel in your body. There is a particular feeling in your body when you trust, and where is that? I mean, probably it's different for everybody.
Yes, mine's in my gut.
This is once you make your list with what you trust. I trust in my cat. I trust in. It's funny. It's interesting because most of us said we talked about concepts. right? So it's unbelievable. The human nature is such a fantastic, phenomenal thing. It's the most magic thing of all, being alive here. Actually, I realized, crisis or not, I'm alive, and this is wow, fantastic. I'm breathing. So it's fantastic how we can all connect to concepts. I mean, I trust something that is untouchable: truth, love, compassion. We trust the energy. We don't feel it. We cannot put our hands on it, but we trust it. So this is the most phenomenal thing. And now I leave it to you, back to
I think
you,
that was
Danielle.
perfect. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you all. So learning to forgive, because forgiveness is can be a very big part of a key of being able to trust. And we have learned behaviours that have made us not be able to trust. So to forgive both ourselves and others. Kate, can I just come to you just to talk a bit about forgiveness?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I'm going to say what I always say. It always begins with the self. And so for me, and the people I work with generally, is forgiving yourself because there's some point somewhere with forgiveness is there's going to be blame and shaming of the self. And you've got to let go of that before you can even try and forgive anyone else. So it's almost forgiving yourself for the shame that you're feeling and releasing that. And that can be a lot of work. And I can't give any particular tips on that because everyone's different and everyone's got a reason why they're feeling the way they're feeling. But it is acknowledging that and being kind and gentle to yourself first and foremost for whatever you feel you need to forgive the other for, because it's somewhere you're hurting inside, and it's releasing that first and allowing that. And you, at some point you have to feel it again and feel it and let it go. And we have tips and techniques and ways of doing that in NLP that are safe and secure to do that work. And before I get people that have got problems with parents, terrible things that have happened when they were younger, and their parents have abused them and stuff like that. It's just horrible things. And yet they feel shame inside. And so it's letting go of that first before you even try. No matter how old your parent is now, you've got to let go of that first before you even try and forgive someone else. And I would say that for anybody, just work on that first and find somebody to help you with that if necessary, if you need to do it that in a safe way. Because until you do that, you can do more harm than good, because you'll just add the shame, because you'll think, why can't I forgive? I should be able to forgive. Everyone says, oh, let go, forgive, just let it go. And then you feel more shame for not being able to let it go because you've not done that work first.
Yeah. And
so that's my first thoughts on forgiveness. And also gratitude can go a long way with that, and being present with what's true now, and looking at that too. And then the other thing is just getting into that feeling in the body and sitting with it and being gentle. And I often see, like I see fear, I also see shame as like a young child that I'm holding in my arms, and I'm just soothing it and holding and being with it and giving it, pouring love into it and just saying, you're okay, you're safe. Because that's what we're trying to do, is make our brains think we're safe. And when we do that, we're comfortable. And so I can visualize it as a child and forgive that child and look after it and say, it wasn't you, it's not down to you, you're safe, you're secure, I love you, you're accepted exactly as you are, you don't need to be anything else. And you can work with that a little bit, but it does take a lot of courage to do that work. And there are people around that can help with that, very much so. It's all possible, absolutely.
I mean, NLP is particularly good at finding the pinpoint when this problem started, because all of these learned behaviours, your subconscious mind knows exactly the root cause of these behaviours and these patterns that we go through in life. And the magic of NLP is that obviously it's an individual basis, and it's not a mass thing that can be done, but you can use timeline techniques to go back to where the problem started and speak to yourself as if you are that, giving you all the advice that you need at that point, and just reset your memory, and you're there for your younger you. It's all about the younger you. So I think that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Thanks, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Marcus, did you want to?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very powerful. I mean, some of the things that you guys are saying today is like, it is amazing to me, and it's my head's spinning with this, to be honest with you.
I knew you'd love it.
I mean, just so you know, Benjamin, like I am well into the law of attraction, man. Like, genuinely changed my life, and like you've said, like I just believe. I believe in it, and that bringing that back to trust is in just trusting in the process, just trusting in. I think that's like trusting in yourself, and also just trusting in the process, because knowing if you've got the mindset and the focus on where it is that you want to go, and we all know this, and it's all talked about in the law of attraction space all the time. We think about things from A to B, but actually, there's troughs and pits and peaks in everything that we do. And I've definitely come to that conclusion now, that I definitely set a goal on where I want to go, but I just kind of sit back now and go, however it's going to happen is going to happen, because in many ways, when you get there and you realize that you are at the destination you wanted to be at, it's not always the exact destination, but because you've trusted that process, you end up in a position where you actually think about it sometimes and go, well, actually, this might not be where I originally thought about being, but it's exactly where I want to be, because you change as you go along. And just touching on what you said, Kate, from a personal point of view, I had some bad trauma from being young. And I think for years I struggled with that question of like, I'm supposed to be forgiving a person, but deep down don't forgive that person. And I had massive trust issues throughout my entire life that came into my relationships, and I am such a different person than I was when I was younger, because I let trust into my life. And then going back to what Susanna says, I don't think we should just unwittingly trust, because that'd be a little bit crazy to just trust everything and everyone. And that kind of goes against what I'm saying. But I think we need to give everybody a chance, have that trust in any because I look at this in life. It doesn't matter if it's a relationship with a loved one, as in a romantic relationship, or whether it's a friendship, or whether it's a business relationship. It all fundamentally comes back to the same thing, really. It is a relationship with another human being. And I think when you go into those situations, you have to have a level of trust, but equally, you have to have a level of awareness. And I think that's the key thing. It's like trusting with awareness, which is great, Susanna, on that little story you told there. I think that's very, very powerful. Like, is having that trust, but being aware and learning of your surroundings. So I think everything that everybody's saying today in combination is just a perfect cocktail of trust, which what this is all about, really. But coming back to what I was saying about the personal trauma, it definitely took a long time for me to finally forgive and accept. And going back on the timeline thing, I had to do a lot of work with myself of going through my timeline, speaking to myself as a youngster, and accepting that actually the reframing of all of that is like the reason a lot of my character today is built from what I went through when I was younger. And that's not just for me, that's for everybody. We all do that. And that can either be a negative or a positive, because those people that are, a lot of people that are struggling with themselves, that is still based on that timeline, and it's still based on a lot of the trust issues that they've built throughout their life. So that is the importance of why this type of thing is so important, to make people realize that we can go back through that timeline. We can use NLP techniques. We can rewire our brain. I was talking to you about this one the other day, Danielle, which is like, just the firing and wiring that's happening for our entire life. And the more that we do this, the more that we do work on ourselves and we do work with other people, that is just constantly, just doing that for us. We're just firing and wiring constantly. And therefore you can reprogram yourself. You can get rid of bad past, but you can learn from that as well, and then trust in the process, because now I understand that a lot of the bad things I've gone through in my life are the reason I am where I am today, and the reason I can try and help other people. And each and every one of us, each and every person we ever meet has just got a story. And I always say this, and it is, me and my wife had completely different upbringings, completely. But what I realized is there's things that went on in her life that I would never think was even bad at all, but to her it was bad. To her, she built trust issues up. Or so everyone's got their own way of looking at things. And again, it comes back to what you've been saying on this chat today of what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person. So there's no one perfect thing, but the one thing for sure is, if we don't learn to trust, and we don't learn to have self-respect, and we don't learn to forgive, and all the things that come with the trust, then there's one sure thing is you won't be able to move on in a positive direction if you are holding on to victim mentality, if that makes sense. So
that's beautiful, Max. Thank you so much. And Anna, can we come to you to maybe discuss?
Yeah, I think that was beautifully put there, Marcus, actually. And I think, you know, again, timeline therapy is so powerful, and obviously has been for all of us. I think with the thing of forgiving, again, I think as Marcus kind of said, it doesn't mean you have to trust straight away, but actually it's about releasing you yourself from any negative energy and suffering. And I think the more you do that, it's more about you. It's not necessarily letting somebody off the hook. It's releasing you from that feeling that's kind of holding you back. And again, that's more about them trusting you. And I think the more you trust in yourself, you develop your own wisdom. And the more you do that, I think you don't have to continue to sort of look outside yourself for answers, because you're trusting that you can actually, like you were talking earlier, Danielle, about that feeling, that gut feeling, you've got that from within. And that's kind of creating your own wisdom. So yeah, I think forgiving doesn't have to mean that you have to trust certainly not everyone and anyone straight away, but it is about sort of looking after yourself and releasing from that grip that's perhaps held you back from the past.
Yeah, I think also as well, and it's just being sensible, because I don't want to put a negative spin on this, but let's just be real. In the world, there is dark and light, there is good and evil. So some people just can't be trusted. Let's just be real about that. Some people just can't be trusted because they're not trustworthy.
I think it's because everyone's on different stages of their own level of energy, their own path of life. And I do believe that everyone fundamentally wants the same thing, but they just go about it in different ways. And what one person sees as truth and trust and correct, the other person would see the complete opposite. And that's just firstly how we're brought up, our surroundings that we're brought up in, and who we look up to. You know, there's all different things that create different energy and a different pathway through life. But the people
also, Danielle, we've also got to think about the principles of NLP, where we come at every client with believing that they're doing the best they can with the resources they have. So the past and everything else, experiences, they've created a reality for them that maybe doesn't fit with everyone else's reality, but it's right for them, and they're doing the best they can, no matter what. Every action has a positive intention, no matter how bad we think it might be in our world, you know. So I think we should also make that point from an NLP point.
That's very, very true. Does anyone else want to say anything before I wrap it up? Because
I was just writing some things down.
You, Benjamin,
getting the inspiration to write something down when you were speaking.
I love you guys, because
Susanna hasn't spoken yet.
Susanna has spoken.
Well, I just probably what I could add is just the how, because we talk about NLP techniques and how we can use them and use all these capacities that we all have in terms of visualization and timeline techniques. I was thinking actually while we identify what we trust in during these times, and that you trust that thing 100%. That's what I do in the morning. Actually, I connect to that sense of trust in my body. Basically, I just ask. At a certain point, as a practitioner, as a master practitioner, you develop your own tools, like you work with yourself maybe better than other people do, in a sense that you're more playful with it. You use the time you have with these tools. And so basically what I do, I just connect to that feeling of trust in the morning, and then I just ask my unconscious mind to bring it and to infuse it in each cell of my body. So I'm waiting, and I developed, probably I mentioned that last time, I developed a sense of yes in my body. So I asked my unconscious mind to give my body a signal of yes, a strong signal of yes, when the process is complete. So I wait there in my bed, meditation pose, or just laying down, and I allow this state of trust. Or now I'm using this example, but it could be something else. Feeling of trust, I take it from where it is, and I just ask my unconscious mind to infuse it in every cell, in every organ, in throughout my neurology. And then I ask my unconscious mind, once this is done, to use this energy to find at least 3 new ways for me that I haven't thought of yet. 3 new ways, 3 new possibilities, 3 new strategies, at least, that will allow me to discover and to receive with grace, gracefully and with love and with joy, the day that is about to start. And so this is how I start my day. And I trust I trust not myself. I don't like to use that word because I don't know who I am. That's the Vedic thing. Sorry, guys. I'm a yogi. I really don't know who I am. You might have good ideas about who you are, but I don't know that much. I know that I'm just a sum of memories, a sum of cells, and who I really am, still a mystery. So but I trust this. I trust processes that I have tested. I trust how the mind works. I trust how the body works. And I like a lot that, what I don't remember who said it. I think it's Marcus. Trust the process.
Yeah.
I love that. So that's what I trust, the process of life. Life is intelligence. And this is what I trust 100%.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Amazing. And Benjamin, my darling, please.
Hey, so, oh yeah, just quickly, you lot are so wonderful.
Oh, you guys are. I love it.
All of you are amazing. Just quickly, because I've been like doodling, if you like, animals, Anna, yes, animals and children teach us about alignment, source alignment and vibration. They are the one thing I go to. We've got 2 dogs and 2 children here, and I always gravitate towards them whenever I want to be reminded of anything, really. Really important. Forgiveness and letting go. I think you can hear it in most circles in personal development. We don't forgive someone for them, we forgive them for us. That is huge. What I've got in the studio down there is let being happy be more important than being right. So service your happiness first and then watch what happens, if you like, because that's massive. That is, if you're serving your happiness first, making peace with where you are, the things that you want will start to show up pretty quickly, pretty quickly and in quick fashion. And again, you'll be surprised and delighted by the assistants or concierge in the sky, if you like, who will help you. I appreciate Susanna's, there's so much honesty on here, and I can feel it. I can. When people speak, I love hearing Kate speak. I love hearing Anna speak. Marcus has joined the party, and he's communicating on a really high frequency. It's so lovely. Susanna's voice is just phenomenal. You're all amazing. For me, there are things that you do for stability and security that can sometimes hold you back from what we would call the adventure. And that adventure, if you like, is the newness that you've always been asking for. That is profound. The adventure, it's holding you back from that. And that's where the newness is that you've been asking for. And it's about, for me, just gently going into it and guiding it. Because you're right, because how do you know trust? It's very simple. I'm speaking from source. I know who I am. I'm source energy. I'm connected to source. I feel it in every cell of my body. And for me, when it feels off, it's off. That's your internal guidance system telling you you're off. You're always on your path, but the path of least resistance is what you're aiming for. And when something feels off, whether it's a trust issue, it's off. You haven't got to try and fix it. You haven't got to try and effort and take action to resolve the way you think and feel about that person or situation or financial, whatever it is. If it feels off, it's off. Notice what that feels like. We spoke about it the other day and I don't really want to go over old ground, but 3 times convincer and all of that. when you feel love and appreciation for someone, what does that feel like? It's source. You're connected. When you feel doubt and disappointment, what does that feel like? It is the best thing I can give anyone in this current video, is when you have a look at that, feel doubt and disappointment at him and, you know, what he said or what they did or where's my money or whatever. Then look at them through the eyes of source. Look at them through the eyes of source. And I'll leave you with this because you're so wonderful, all of you. And that is, your happiness and well-being doesn't depend on the behaviour of others. And they are all off the hook. Every single one of them, they're off the hook. Every one of them are off the hook because your happiness and well-being doesn't depend on them. And that is the start of breakthrough, transformation, and then tapping into what we call source energy. So, you know, come on, and I don't want to go because I can just
tell you that was perfect. That was perfect, guys. Let me wrap it up and just say thank you to every single one of you, and I'm going to put all the links to everyone in the write-ups as well. I am so grateful and so blessed to have you all in my life. I say it every time, but I feel it. I really feel it. And what you do for me as well as for everybody is just magic. So I'm eternally grateful to every single one of you. And my roundup thing is just to everybody, stay present, stay calm, and just trust. Use that. Try and forgive yourself. Feel where it is. Release it. And stay present, let go of fear. Love you all. And see you in the next one. I'm going to press stop on record.
Thanks, Danielle.
Love you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Lovely, just stop record.